Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. Not quite sure why you wanted to come listen to me, but that's all right. I'll try and share my sort of experience around people management and things, and then Yuli will be able to put a bit more science and things behind it. Hopefully I can offer some insight into being the project manager on the Samoa High Commission project in Wellington, and sort of my thoughts on people management and things. So, as you've heard, my name's George, project manager for a smaller company called Wellington Commercial. My background has been working for Tier 1 contractors previously, but for about 9 years. For the last sort of 7.5, almost 8 years, I've been working for Wellington Commercial. So, wanted to just change up from the larger companies, go somewhere slightly smaller, help build a company up and things, and new challenges. So, I was fortunate enough when I joined Wilson's, I'd sort of like wanted to help the company grow and things, and we were fortunate enough to pick up through tender the Samoa High Commission project in Wellington, which was a new build. Significant project for both the government of Samoa and and Wilson's as well. So today I'll briefly go over the topic, over the project, let you know about the project, people management and construction, and some of my philosophies around it, which hopefully you can get some takeouts of. Different relationships we had to juggle and the challenges through the project. And just engagement of the team through the project. So first thing in construction we'll all know is you never get the perfect three. That is the budget, the resource and the program. One of those is always pulled out from under you. This particular project was done through the COVID era. And the other challenge, which is a challenge for every project in Wellington, is access. So this is start of the project. We had to take out 3,500 cubic metres of soil and then put 148 rock anchors in to secure the site. To give you an idea of scale, that's what you've got to do in Wellington to get a build platform. So original ground level was up here, plus there was a large mass of dirt. Had to rock anchor, excavate down to get our building platform. One unique thing about this project was the client's involvement. Often people will deal with a corporate client if they're an investment company or a client who employs a project manager and things. In this case, we had the Samoa High Commission in their residence right behind us. So every day the client could this is 2 flats for their workers, but they were using upstairs as their temporary offices. So we literally had the client watching everything that was going on. And the other thing with it being a concrete shell was I described it as a sound shell. So the conversations the guys were having down there, the client could hear crystal clear right above us. Other challenges of the site, as I said, Wellington, restricted access. You can see here the only access is via a 1920s brick apartment building with a seismic rating you wouldn't want to know. So everything was via tight access with close neighbours. Also going up the side of site behind the red fence was a council path, which in itself posed issues with old services leaking into site and things. So another challenge on this particular project was just also temporary engineering. So I'll touch on that later through relationships and things, but we had to redesign some of the engineering around the project. The other interesting one about this, we were the only contractor who tendered for this to put a tower crane in. Unfortunately you can't really see, but there's the tower crane. Because of the access, others had thought they would build the basement first in order to create a platform to get a crane to construct it, but we went with the tower crane to allow the resequencing of works. It enabled us to do works in the driveway and still service site, because doing works in the driveway then enabled drive-on access at the tail end of the project when you're wanting to bring things like tiles and carpets and other trades into site. So a key driver on the site was storage. So with the tower crane, we were able to get the front slab down so that we had somewhere to store the structural steel, get the structural steel going, and just progress through the superstructure, which was your standard steel and ribbon infill. And of course, it's one thing to put a tower crane in. You do have to think outside the box as to how you're going to get it out. So the driveway, one going down to the basement and one going into the building, we had to backfill that in order to get a mobile crane in to lift the crane out. So side access there, you can see how tight it was when you look at the scale of a ute parked in the driveway. The other one which was really interesting about this project is the way the client dealt with the neighbours, and they were very, very relationship based. So what we had to do is our shed setup's actually on the neighbour's land, and the neighbours for years and years had walked up the driveway, gone down a set of stairs to get onto the roof of their apartment building, because the apartment building in front actually acts as the retaining wall. So in order to facilitate that, the Samoa High Commission bent over backwards. We provided temporary alternative access up another set of stairs to their rooftop, since their clotheslines were there. But also the Samoa High Commission actually gave them a legal easement for the first time in order to walk across the High Commission's land to access their roof. So people management and construction. I suppose the first thing we know is that construction is very dynamic. It's a bit like professional sports teams where you've got a team come together. Yes, it's often sort of picked by someone, but there will be contracts that hang over from previous players who are on your roster, who you kind of don't have a choice on. It's a bit like when a team comes together in construction that, consultants, often one is nominated. They may bring a structural engineer they wish to, or services engineers. The team's kind of brought together through the process rather than just going, let's pick the dream team always. So the unique thing about this job in regards to the dynamics of the team for Auckland, so Auckland did the services and the structure. The design team, when it came to on-site, everyone was different. Everyone who had designed the project for Auckland did not work for Auckland at the time of construction, partly due to how long the project had taken to get off the ground. So that dynamic, in order to work through that, ultimately for me as the man on site and the point of contact, I had to just build trust with those people. So in order to do that, it was when they came on board, being able to go through and describe, right, electrical engineer, we know these are your requirements, this is what the subcontractor's doing, this is how we're going to keep records and things. Structural engineer taking them through the QA processes and building that level of trust so that they were comfortable in our systems and processes, and also just to bring them up to speed on the project, and so that they knew and had confidence we knew what was going on. Challenging time for the consultant team obviously as well, because they lose the IP as people leave. Other one, design. So that's obviously very dynamic in construction. Geographical challenges dictate that things change. So whilst a consultant may, in their mind, always use the same details for the contractor, It isn't always the same detail they've built. They change job to job, and repurposing of buildings and things. So in this case, it was trying to learn CCMs, the architect's details, what they expected, learning that what they expected that wasn't documented. Time, obviously stressed by COVID time through this particular project. Other one around people management. Construction industry, as we know, is full of different characters. You've got your old school gruff guys who have always done it that way, and they sort of like to turn up and dictate terms. You've got your fresh younger guys who you have to teach and try and bring on with the systems and things. Particularly through the COVID time, as everyone will know, those resources were a challenge. You would take kind of what you were given and had to deal with those different characters. So I think the key there was to learn how to communicate with those different characters. Some people like to be walked through on site how to do something. Others like to be sent all the details so they could study it first. So different ways to go through that. The other thing, which I think is a big thing to remember in construction, is that generally on site people get into construction because they want to do a trade, or they like to do things. They like to do things with their hands and produce things. So it's not leadership is not the reason people generally get into construction. And at different times, you've got to deal with people in a manner where they may be fresh to the project manager's role and may take a bit of guiding. Other times, they may have been doing it for a while. As I touched on before, the communication does vary. My way around communication is you fire out the contract program, which is usually in project. Some people like that, some people don't. Some people understand it, some people don't. So I like to keep it simple and just do an Excel spreadsheet and colour code teams so that ultimately a contractor can look at a program and follow the yellow and they can see whereabouts they're working, or a team can follow the red, see whereabouts they're working and on what work faces. Ultimately, at the end, that has to tie into the master program, and you have to achieve those deadlines, but often find that an easier way to communicate with people so that people understand where you need to be. The other challenge around this industry is outside influences. And it's a bit about that thing of remembering that people are people. People have different challenges in this industry. Unfortunately, this industry is often viewed as a pathway for dummies, but everyone in this room will know it's a very complex industry. Standards are always changing, design codes. The health and safety's evolved immensely in the last 10 years. So the industry is one where you have to understand those outside influences and how they affect people in order to work with them to help get what you need out of people. The socio-economic challenges, housing crises, there's living challenges for people to deal with, all sorts of challenges. Sadly, substance abuse is one, which is high in the industry, and mental health rates and things. So all of these above items on construction make this industry stressful for everyone involved, not just the person trying to deliver the job, but the people at the bottom. Some of my philosophies, sadly, one of them, if you're hoping to get a golden answer, my philosophy is that there is no silver bullet to people management. You need to be able to understand each person and deal with them accordingly, be it communication, One thing I would encourage is people to believe in your process. Everyone's got a different comfort zone. Some people like to walk back around a site and write a list and then assign people tasks. Some people like to go back to the main program. Everyone has a different process which helps them feel in control and feel comfortable. So I would say believe in your process when managing people, and consistency and sticking to it. That being said, we have to be prepared to adjust. Your process doesn't necessarily work for other people, and getting them to come on the journey with you. You've got to be prepared to engage the way they like to communicate in order to get your message across. And different people have different drivers, be it the safety person needing a safety audit done in a certain way because they have to report something, or be it a change in the plans because budgets have changed and things need to be changed on the project. So that may affect your sort of standard process. Reporting, communication changes and things. So. One of my big ones in people management is reminding everyone is needed. The classic case on a construction site, I think, is when people go, oh, just get the labourer to do it. It's a labourer's job or whatever. The one thing I like to remind guys is that, okay, so you want a labourer to clean up after you or to do that job? And the answer is normally yes. And I'm like, so you need them to do something for you? The answer is yes. So it's don't put them at a peg below you or think they're any less than you because you now need someone to do something for you, or you want someone to do something for you. Everyone is one of those cogs in the wheel through construction, and it's really important in my mind to remember that everyone is of value and everyone is needed, because all those little things bring a construction project together. The other one with saying that everyone has a purpose, everyone is needed and is of value, is that everyone has a purpose. And sometimes to get guys to buy in, I think it's about reminding people of that purpose. The client is obviously expecting something to be delivered and doesn't want someone to be there just to be there. They want people doing things for a purpose. And one of the key things I find good to get people on site doing what you need is reminding them there's purpose in it. And again, that starts with the apprentice digging a hole for a fence post. They'll go, oh, I've been put on digging holes for fence posts. But in that is a learning for them. At some point, they're going to have to ask someone to dig a hole for a fence post for them when they're leading someone. So you're digging the hole, we need to find good ground. What's good ground defined by the standard? How big does the hole need to be? You can encourage people through the tasks that they're doing that there is actually purpose to even what might seem like the smallest of tasks, so that the person engages in the task and feels as though there's some value in it for them. Again, it's the apprentice knocking in product nails on joist hangers. They'll be sick of it by the end of it, but again, there's a purpose to putting these in. How many do you need for this connection detail? Find things where people can relate to even what seems like the smallest of tasks, so that they can take a learning out of it. The other one I like is helping people understand that there's one common goal, and that it's that purpose to things. We're all trying to achieve something at the end of it. The consultant team obviously have been working on a job for a long time, want to see a project finished. The construction team want to get to that finished goal, and helping people understand their purpose and what that common goal is an important one. For the Samoa High Commission, it was quite good. The sort of getting people's buy-in to the project and understanding the driver was how much it meant to the people of Samoa. They were very invested in the job in regards to what it meant for their people and how it represented them as a nation, so more than just a building. The other sort of common goals to work towards on the project was the budget. There was a specific budget, so as a consultant build team, we worked really hard on budget as well to achieve what they needed. Relationships, so client, really unique one there. Often we're dealing with clients who are institutional clients, so they may have experience, be it whether you're doing another development for someone, be it you're building another commercial property. In regards to the Samoa High Commission, they were a naive client in regards to they didn't plan to build another building. This is a marquee project for them. So one thing which through the process we learnt with managing that relationship is making them feel involved and giving them time to make decisions. The first meeting we had with them, it was quite interesting. Normally you sit down in a PCG and people will go through the agenda and things. When you sat down with the Samoa High Commission, the first thing they did was talk about sport or talk about the weather. They did that, talk about people as people and engage as to what's going on. And they slowed things right down. So understanding relationships was very important with them. Also, one of the first things they mentioned in the meeting was that they literally said spending money on something pretty and looking good is potentially a child's education back in Samoa. So they were really invested in about their own people and representing their people even though they're in New Zealand. So respecting their needs and wants to service their people was really important in the relationship and nurturing that through it. Subcontractors, very technical job. The biggest challenge through the project was getting them to understand the sequencing. So with the narrow driveway, getting services done up front, walk-on access, having to like crane diggers into the back of the site and crane diggers out, having them understand why we're doing things in a certain sequence to make the end of the job, which is often the most stressful part, hopefully a little more stress-free. I think it's important with subcontractors is helping them to understand the job. Often guys will get sent to a job just right next week, you're at that job with little planning. So gaining guys' trust by going through the plans with them and clearly defining what you need of that person. So I'd say work with and don't dictate to subcontractors. Again, it's that we need them to do the job. We don't have all those specialist skills. We do need the people. So understanding and respecting that relationship. The other one, consultant relationships. The one I think is key through the construction process to remember with consultants is they'll all feel under the pinch at different times. So you need to work with them and understand up front, the geotechnical man feels the pressure, feels as though you're asking questions and nagging. Then through the structural engineer feels that pressure, feels that nagging, because you've got to hit that concrete pour date or get the structure. So trying to work with those consultants at those times to alleviate the pressure on them, because you need the answers to finish it. The other one to remember about those relationships in the construction process and working with those people is that, like the contractor, we're under financial pressure. Consultants are the same with fees, and although their fees don't affect me as the contractor, I've still got to know and understand that so that we can get along to deliver the project. Methods of engaging on the Samoa High Commission project with the team. Really easy. It was a project of significance for Wilson's. It was easy. Subcontractors we had worked with when myself and one of the directors had worked at a main contractor on larger jobs. We'd worked with them before. They could see this was a project of growth for the company. So easy to get them to come along on the journey in that respect. Also explaining how it was a project of significance for the client also got people's buy-in, and they were really interested in helping and aiding in that through helping to come up with cost-saving ideas and things. That common goal, we all wanted to build the building. Everyone had that, the whole team. We discussed what we called the sacred cows with the architects at the start. So what can we not change in your design look, but we can change? As in, you can achieve the look of something by doing it completely different to what's on the drawing. So understanding we've got a common goal, we want to deliver this, but how can we do it differently? That goes a long way to working with teams if you outline that at the start. Discuss sequencing and program. So when I came on board with this project, I took the project and flipped it around, as in doing the driveway first rather than right at the end. I wanted it done to have drive-on access to give me more storage, more access, and make the end a little more stress-free. So that helps bring people on to that common goal and understanding as well. Samoa High Commission project was really good in regards to design cues. So there's a ton of features on this job which look pretty architecturally, but for example, the zinc panels on the front shaped as triangles and in three-dimensional shapes, that they're actually shark's teeth, so in Samoan culture represent strength and defence. So telling guys things like that made it more interesting for the people involved. The cross, looked like cross-laminated timbers on the front to represent the fishing nets, which ties back to fishing up the islands in Samoan culture. Also ties to New Zealand culture with fishing up of the islands. So again, there were design cues which correlated between New Zealand and Samoa and spoke of the relationship between Samoa and New Zealand, which people found really interesting and engaged in the project. You're not just building an office building, finding reasons for people to buy in. And when you look out there in projects across the board, you can often find that whether you're doing a school, whether you're doing a church, whether you're doing a community centre, if you remind people of those things through a project, it can help to get buy-in as well. Planning and communication, so as I said earlier, doing the colour coding on charts and things so that teams could see where they're going and understand the process and what's going up. Toolbox talks, so one thing we do at Wilson's, and the scale of the project allows, we get everyone on site to come along to the toolbox talk. That means that everyone knows what's going well on site, what they need to be aware of, and everyone hears what's going on. I understand that some of the bigger jobs of a scale where you'll only have one representative from each subcontractor, then they'll go and talk to the team. But on the High Commission, we felt it really important that everyone come along and understand what's going on.
When were you running that particular part of at what time of the day or?
So generally we mixed it up. So we'd do a toolbox talk just before smoko, so that people were starting to wind down, or sometimes we'd do it at, we'd put on a barbecue lunch and do the classic, there's no such thing as a free lunch. You've got to stand and listen to us talk. Sometimes we did it on a Friday afternoon and had some beers so that you actually got subcontractors hanging around till 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. And yeah, different times, yeah.
How often did you do
We do them fortnightly, every 2 weeks. The other reason on this project is just reminding people that the client is right there, was also the useful tool. But yeah, toolbox talks, great way to engage and bring everyone together. The other one which was a key driver to bring people together, we had a timber around the crane base and 5 metres by about 2.5 to stop people wanting to climb the crane in the weekend should they decide to wander onto site. So initially we had painted the white hoarding and then we painted the red on it, and we're waiting for that to dry before we started the blue in the top corner. That created good banter on site. The Tongans started threatening to paint a yellow cross in the top corner just to wind all the Samoan boys up on site. We did that in a position where the client could see it from up top. We also did a position where people could see it from walking down the council path on the side so that they could see what the project was about. So that was another one which got everyone interested in talking on site and talking in the community. Site barbecues tied into those toolbox talks, bringing people together. Site banter. I think one thing which is really good to bring a team together is just to, again, remember that human aspect. Stop sort of just talking to people about the job, have some communication. What did you get up to on the weekend? What's going on? You know, those that turn up late, just start calling them Sleeping Beauty and giving them a bit of a ribbing and things. So the High Commission had a really good vibe like that. Interestingly enough, there's one which has started on the current project I'm working on, which is just a seismic strengthen job, but credit to one of the labourers. The end of the week, he just came up to us and was like, "Thank you very much, great week, I'll see you next week," and shook our hands. And then that proceeded to follow by other guys saw that, and everyone just started shaking everyone's hand at the end of the day. Something we don't often do, but connect as human beings and realise, hey, thanks very much. So that's something which we've almost started. It seems to be every second day now when everyone at the end of a day will shake hands and say thank you very much. So those small human interactions seem to be making a difference. And we're obviously the project was in a residential neighbourhood with houses right beside us overlooking it. So keeping the neighbours on side and doing newsletters so that they knew, right, next month is precast month, we'll have a lot of trucks coming and things. Also helped the neighbourhood engage in the project and helped us get along with the neighbourhood because they knew what was going on. And also just putting those in the smoko room for guys to read. They could see what was coming up and understand what was going on. And the other one, site tours. So we did site tours both internally as a company so that other people within your company can see what's going on and see what the company's doing, can see what subcontractors are doing when they say, no, I can't send you resources, I'm over at this job. But then we also did site tours for the client. Being a proud nation, the High Commission wanted to show it off, so taking time to show other High Commissions around their new High Commission. I think we had every Pacific nation came through it at some point of time to see what was going on because they really wanted it to be a Pacific hub to bring other High Commissions together. So yeah, site tours was another one to get people involved. And when you tell people on site that site tours are happening, they get proud of what they're doing as well and take pride in what they do. Sorry, I'm probably a bit over time there, but yeah, there's a whole range of things. Obviously, each of those topics I could go into a whole lot more detail specifically on what we did between program, between how we ran toolbox talks in different ways and things. But yeah, hopefully there's something there where people can feel as though there's something they can use in managing teams. It's a complex subject. Right.